Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert. Welcome back to the TED Show. You've heard me say that a few times today on Gratitude Tuesday here on the TED Show. Very excited to have these talented gentlemen on the show. We have Anthony Cortes.
Hello.
And Robert Figueroa from Flix. Motionflix.net is scrolling across the bottom of your screen. They created a business during the pandemic. You know, you want to talk about the ultimate shifting. We all had to figure out how to shift, and creating a brand new business, a brand new thing for you during COVID, really is what they did. And so they're here to share their story, their journey, and I'm so excited to have them on. Welcome, guys. How you doing?
Thank you. Great. How are you?
Doing good.
Fantastic. And we got to give a shout out to the one and only Rose Kemp for bringing us together. Rose doesn't usually group text me very often. And so when she did about you, I thought, God, this must be good, because Rose has an eye for people and a heart for people. So kudos to Rose. Thank you for the intro. All right. So the audience saw your bio. I copied as much of it as I could to post. But they love to hear it from you. So they want to know origin story. They want to know about you. And then they definitely want to take a deep dive into how you guys managed to create a business during this crazy time. So we'll start with whomever wants to. Anthony, Robert, I'll let you guys go.
Sure, I'll start. So I've been in the salon industry. I was in the salon industry for 7 years. During that time, we had 3 salons under Trend Studios that started in downtown Orlando. And we actually closed right on the onset of the pandemic. So early spring of 2020, luckily I say, because, I know there's been a lot of businesses that struggled during that time. And my heart went out to that, because I couldn't imagine. So that's kind of the background that I had, in at least a short summary.
And you're Anthony, for the record.
Anthony, yes.
Because they don't know, because it says Motionflix.
Oh,
so
right.
I want them to know that's Anthony and that's Robert. All right, Robert, give us a little origin story. I'm going to ask questions afterward, though.
Sure. So I'm Robert Figueroa from New York, and I've been in the real estate industry for several years. In New York, I did rentals and sales and had a passion for it and loved it. And then moved to South Florida, where I managed luxury waterfront condominiums. So I've always had a passion for helping people find their homes and also fixing problems. In property management, you're always managing something. And part of that career, especially in property management, was hosting events and making sure that we engaged the residents and created that quality of life for them. So that's kind of a little bit of the influence that went into our venture, but we'll get more into that.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So first of all, how did you two meet?
We met through one of my really good friends at the time, or he's still one of my good friends. My friend
he's no longer with us. I mean, that was a bad little statement there.
No, one of my closest friends, and
who's my cousin.
So it's his cousin, and that's kind of how we met in South Florida.
And it's funny because Anthony and I have done this so many times in our lives, because Joel, who's my cousin, has taken him to my place in New York, and I've been out of town, and he's stayed in my apartment, and we've had so many times where we could have met, but I truly feel like we met at the perfect time.
At the time you were supposed to. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So 2020 comes, you guys are doing your thing, you're rolling along, and then everything shuts down. We all felt it. We all tried to figure out how to pivot. Some of us better than others. What did you guys decide to do?
Yeah, so 2020, was a really tough time for a lot of us, especially for Robert and I. We're both extroverts, really social. We rely on our loved ones, for support. And, during that time, it was just such a difficult time. And that's when you need those type of people, those people the most. So we thought of how can we get creative with this, and how can we build something to where we can still have those moments with the people we love in a responsible way and in a safe way. And that's kind of how Motionflix was born. We found a way to bring either the movie theater, a concert, even a concert from when times were normal, to the comfort of someone's backyard, and do it in a space where it's outdoors, it's a lot safer, and allows for proper social distancing.
Let me ask you before we deep dive into that. That's my favorite term because we got a lot. We want to explain to them everything. How do you go from trend studios and real estate into motion flicks? Like, I think people had ideas, had dreams, had passions, but how did you make that leap? Was it a big one? Was it something that came out of the blue? Is it something you had always been interested in? How did it come to fruition as that was what you were going to create?
Yeah, that's a great question. So through Trend Studios, I was able with the team to do a lot of events, and I found that my true passion was event planning and gathering people together and, you know, all that fun stuff. So right before Motion Flix, I kind of knew that was the direction I wanted to take, was to still continue to develop really great events in the Orlando area. And that's kind of how, you know, what influenced that decision.
And a little bit like I was saying before, with being in property management and knowing that there was sort of like a monthly thing that managers are required to do or inclined to do, we thought, what can we do that's safe? And throughout the pandemic, we were doing our cleanups. We have an organization, a nonprofit called Paddle with a Purpose, and we were doing our waterway cleanups throughout that whole time, you know, responsibly with social distancing and also wearing our masks. And so we realized, like, it's safer outside. We saw articles and research that was showing that you can be around each other just outside and spaced apart. So we started to like get those juices flowing. Like, how can we incorporate Anthony's love of event planning and my love of outside and you know, bringing people together and make something fun out of it.
Did you get resistance in the beginning? Because even in the beginning, as we were starting to shift, I imagine people are like, yeah, it's outside, but aren't there going to be a ton of people? How are you going to figure out how to do that? Because I think people want to start new businesses, but they don't know how to maneuver through the new world.
Right.
And so when you say the word movie or motion flicks, I think, God, look at what the industry has suffered so much from the movie world. You all are creating a completely different kind of experience. So tell them a little bit about it.
Sure. I mean, we have had clients that have been in the theater industry that were very precautious, and even they were hosting events. You know, we have our seating where we're putting people in inflatable sofas and they're kind of staying put. They're wearing their masks throughout. They're socially distancing. So with the onset of all of the streaming services, now we see that movies are coming right out to direct to streaming and direct home. You can watch a movie premiere in your own house, you know, at the moment it gets released. So that was all part of what kind of pushed us to do it, even though, you know, there's no playbook for this kind of a situation. We had to write our own rules, and every day we're constantly just, you know, making up the playbook.
Figuring it out as we go, yeah.
Did you get pushback from your friend? You know, because friends and family are usually the most difficult ones to impress. And did you get pushback and go, are you guys crazy? Nobody's going to movies. Nobody wants to do events. We're all afraid. Did you face that kind of stuff? And if you did, how did you overcome it? How did you get past it with your ideas?
I think we got a lot of support.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was like the opposite
more than expected. But I also know that during the time where we really launched, people were kind of already just so eager to see the people they love. And so we really tried to be very cautious in the way we started this business because, you know, we were in a global pandemic. So we wanted to make sure it was in the safest way possible. And, you know, so I think everyone was kind of excited to have something to do. And we had to be responsible and make sure that we had the proper, you know, masks and social distancing and all of that. So there's a little pressure, I would say, more than anything else.
Sure.
But yeah, I think everyone took it pretty well at first.
And actually,
so tell us about. Go ahead, Robert.
I was going to say our families and our friends were so like supportive to the fact that they were like, this is a huge idea. This is great. You know, it's going to be super big. So we got this boost, you know, more than anything. It was like so much support.
So now let's explain to the audience what we're talking about, because we've mentioned inflatable chairs. You never know where my audience is going to go with anything with the word inflatable. Tell us a little bit about what Motion Flix is and all of the uses, because one of the things that I find fascinating is, since we are trying to be outside and you're trying to basically deliver an experience, that's my verbiage, to people who are dying for an experience right now of any kind.
Yep.
How did you, what is Motion Flix? I actually have 5 or 6 people who are going, I don't understand. I haven't gone to the website. In fairness, that's what they're saying. So explain, give us the 411.
Sure. So Motion Flix is, we pretty much bring the movie theater, karaoke bar, sporting hall, concert, even Zoom party, Zoom meeting to the comfort of anyone's backyard, any HOA event, any rooftop, and pretty much any space that's outdoors or venue. We've even done some indoor stuff. So we do everything from concerts that are pre-recorded or live. We do the most creative thing I think that we've done, which has been through our clients that have given us these great ideas, is a Zoom party for a birthday girl that her birthday, you know, like many of us, fell in the middle of the pandemic, and friends and family aren't able to really travel because of the restrictions. So we actually had a surprise screen for her when she stepped outside with all of her family on Zoom. So it's kind of cool. There's really, the opportunities are endless, or the ideas, you know, that you can have with this type of business. So we like to say we bring the theater, sporting hall, pretty much any type of event to the comfort of your own backyard.
So give us what that looks like. So it's my backyard. I go, you know what, guys, Motion Flix, I want you to come, Anthony, Robert, set me up. What does that look like? Give them an idea, because I think the uses for what you offer are sky's the limit. It's all about the creativity on how they do it or how the person sees it. So I want them to be able to visualize what you guys do.
Well, I was going to say, what really sets us apart is our service aspect. So anyone can kind of like buy a screen and the equipment and do it. But where we shine is we are a full service upscale experience. So from the moment you reach out to us, we prepare a customized quote and ask a variety of questions. After that, once you're kind of satisfied with the number, we'll have a walkthrough schedule where we'll meet with you and look at your space and go over all the details and make sure that everything is kind of like planned to where you'd like it and the location is good. At that point, we'll have our schedule set up for your date, and one of our event directors will come out to the property and set everything up. So our whole motto is we want the host to enjoy the experience as much as their attendees, their guests.
So explain the movie part. We have people asking about the movie, and
yeah,
we have plenty of time, but the movie part, people are saying, all right, so if I want to have a movie at my house, what does that look like? If I want to do a Zoom party, which I love that idea, what does that look like? Does it entail a lot? Do I have to have a lot of room? We have that question. Do I have to have a beautiful deck area? How big does the backyard have to be? I think some of this stuff people are having a hard time envisioning, because what you're doing is kind of unique, really.
Yeah. And that's what's fun about it. So we have 3 different screen sizes, anywhere from 11 feet, which is kind of like a smaller, we call it like a presentation screen, and then to 33 feet, which is 2 stories tall, which can accommodate a drive-through, a really big yard. So really we can accommodate almost any outdoor space. What a movie theater event would look like with Motion Flix is we have the inflatable pull-out couches, we have blankets, we have a concession stand with popcorn, candy that we provide as well, and a full service of event director. So he's there passing out concessions throughout the event, just like the old times, so you don't have to get up and miss any part of the movie. In addition to what Robert was saying, is we create invites as well. So we create the e-invite that you can pass on to your friends. If it's a Zoom party, we create an e-invite for the Zoom party. So we give it to the host, and then they send it out. This time, this is where you go to be on Zoom. So we really try to think of everything we can to make sure we plan an event that's very easygoing for the host.
And you've expanded, because you guys are not in Orlando right now. So I think it's important for people. So you had the idea, you created the business during the pandemic, which is the topic. You've grown. Tell the audience a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we are now in Los Angeles building our business out here in LA. So we've expanded from Orlando to Miami, as well as now LA. our first event is coming up, and we're really excited for it. But it's just something that is kind of growing, and we're innovating as we go. We started with the basic motion Flix experience, which is what we've talked about. And since then, we've added things like silent disco headphones, which was a great option for smaller backyard.
Tell the audience that I had one question.
Sure.
From somebody when I posted everything. It must be somewhere on your website or somewhere on your social media. Tell people about that. I have actually watched that in person. And it's phenomenal. So tell them a little bit about silent disco something.
Yeah, do you want to talk about it, or I can?
Sure.
Okay, sure.
So we kind of came up with the silent disco has been around for a while, but we found a need because, sometimes we can have neighbors that aren't the happiest of having an event, next door. So, and then on top of that, sometimes in the events, some people want to watch the movie, some people want to socialize. We definitely saw that with our Christmas parties that we did. So we added the headphones as an additional service for those that want to either focus on the movie, not have the neighbors find out. We always like to say, don't let the neighbors find out. That way it's not loud, or for those that want to have a movie night but don't necessarily want to see the movie the whole time. They're with their friends, so they want to socialize. To have that option, there's 3 different stations where they can listen to music. They choose whatever's on the stations. And that's something we've had fun with. We're actually doing disco yoga with the screen here in LA pretty soon. So there's a lot of things that we can do with that also.
Disco yoga only in LA.
Yeah.
I don't know where else, maybe Miami. Here's the great thing. Tell the audience tell the people how it is that you got the idea, but then you've expanded. And because we've got a question about that, and we've talked a little bit about this, but I want to answer this one specifically. It's one thing to have the idea and to go, I've got this. It's another thing to find the equipment, to do the business plan, to figure out what your audience is going to be. So talking in a generic perspective, if people really are trying to find a way to build a business, create a business during the pandemic, which we're still in, it's not quite as crazy as it was in 2020. What are some steps that you would suggest that they take when they're thinking about making that leap?
Yeah, I would just say that Anthony has been an entrepreneur, so he had to hold my hand through a lot of it because being an entrepreneur is nerve-wracking. There's going to be a lot of, I think, self-doubt of feeling like, how can I even begin this process? So I just did a lot of my own research too, with the help of Anthony, just kind of guiding us through it. But it was definitely, we did a business plan. Where we saw opportunity was when we did our comparative market analysis, where we looked at all the other companies that do similar work and realized that there was really nothing that does what we do, where we're hosting the event, having a full service attendant, and kind of doing an event planning side portion of the business. So we saw the opportunity there, but it was really helpful to do that, to see, okay, how are they doing it, and what can we improve upon that model?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would just add, the biggest thing I think for me is what I try to remember is take the risk. Just I always picture it like a roller coaster. Enjoy the ride and don't get too caught up in the nerves and what ifs, because if it doesn't work, you'll find something else. And I think taking that leap of faith, which I've done with a lot of things, and some things worked out, some things didn't, but just having that in the back of your mind just gives you that extra push, and it's an exciting journey, and it makes it fun.
Did you give up your day jobs in order to do it? We had that question. When you're creating a business, obviously you're the owners. Since both of you are entrepreneurs, I'm not sure if this applies, but people want to know, at what point did you go, all right, I'm taking the leap financially? There's a whole different world involved, right? Because if you're going to go full time into your dream, try to follow it, try to create it, you really have to be committed. Did you guys go, all right, we're all in, we're going to just eat ramen noodles and mac and cheese for the rest of our lives until we get to it? Or did you have planning that you did prior to launch?
So I'll say, coming from a career, I did plan. I saved for it. I was helping out with the business, and then we started to hit the point where it was just not possible for both of us to, for not to not have both of us involved. I couldn't just work my job and then set up for these events and do that at the very beginning. So I made the decision to step away from it, and it has been a lot of being careful and meal prepping, not necessarily eating ramen noodles, but having healthy meals and preparing. It does take a lot of sacrifice in that sense. And I think Anthony was used to maybe a little bit of a higher end lifestyle that he kind of toned down a little bit.
How about you, Anthony?
I think for me, and this is just for me personally, I sometimes, when I'm in a position to where I really need to rely on myself to make it happen, to pay the bills, and I'm in that position to, okay, the only way I can do this, if I'm my own boss, is to go out there and work the hardest I can. I really thrive in a situation like that. So I almost set myself up to that situation to where has to work, because if not, then,
What's the alternative?
Yeah. So I think for me, I thrive in that situation of kind of being in a position to where I need to go at this full force and I need to make it happen because I don't have another choice. And that kind of really helps me to stay motivated throughout the whole process.
I think a lot of people look at what you're doing and the vision is there, like they might have it, but they like the hourly rate, the 2 weeks vacation, the 8 sick days. And people will come to me and go, well, I don't feel like I have the entrepreneurial spirit. And maybe you don't, and that's okay. And that's the one thing that I always like to share with people. All right, enough about the ethereal part. Let's talk about the business part. How can people reach you? What can people do? What's your target market? Let's get it out there so people can kind of go, oh, I know that. I'd love to engage Motion Flix to come and do my event, my big fundraiser, my party. Give them a little why as to the contact information and what they can do.
Sure. So first off, I just want to let everyone know that we are having our public event with Bungalower. We have a series going on sponsored by Ford. And the next event will be April 9th, where they're showing Sister Act. And there's always some really cool things going on there with Wally's across the street or Will's Pub. So you can check us out, get tickets to that event through bungalower.com. I don't even think it's been posted yet, but it will be shortly. But we have a series going with them. So that's the first thing that you can find in Orlando.
And the next thing I would say to visit our website, motionflix.net. And there's an area where you can do a quote request. And then one of our event directors, or most of the time we're the event directors, will call you and we'll ask you just a few questions and build your event and then give a quote.
You can also find us on Instagram at motion.flix, and you can see how our events look and get a real feel for being there.
What's the ultimate goal for you two before we head out? What do you want to do in 2021?
Yeah, so we have a lot of great ideas. Disco yoga was the first thing. We want to get better LED screens so we can do more like sporting events or things that happen during the daytime in the sun, sunny conditions. We're looking at, and we came to LA because we knew that this was going to be the prime spot to do outdoor events here and put us on a higher level. And then eventually we're going to talk about franchising and having, what you want to go on that one?
Yeah, I think franchising is what we would like to do, further later in the year. Yeah, because I think, it's a great way to start a business with the support, and really any person that loves to throw events, and that could be a mom that loves to throw birthdays for her child or kids, or everyone has that person in the neighborhood that just always does the events, so for them to have that opportunity and the support to do something like this themselves and be their own boss, I think that's a really cool thing. And if we're able to provide something like that for any person, mother, anyone that's passionate about that and do it in a really easy way for them, then I'm happy with that.
All right. Tell them the best way to reach you, Anthony Cortes and Robert Figueroa.
So yeah, through our website, motionflix.net. We would love to connect with you guys on Instagram at motion.flix. You can even email us directly, Anthony or Robert at motionflix.net. And did I miss anything?
I think that's it.
And we're on
Love
Facebook.
it. Guys, I want to tell you, if you look at motionflix.net, you're going to be amazed. So we're all looking for creative ways to do events that are COVID compliant. And these guys have it down to a science. So if you're looking for an outdoor event, they said indoor event. If you're looking for something different, and don't just think event, you could think meeting. There's all sorts. Sky's the limit on what they're trying to create for you. The whole point is that they want to create an experience for you. And that is where this comes into play, especially during all the stuff that's going on right now, where you can't have X amount of people in a room. I mean, it's just crazy what we're all dealing with. This gives you an amazing creative alternative to that party or that event that you were thinking about. Yeah. I love everything that you guys are doing. Thank you so much for being on the show. You guys are a joy. I want you to come back to promote your next event. We've got so much stuff going on. You're always welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Jeremy.
Anthony Cortes, Robert Figueroa, Motion Flix.